Australia, as we've been reporting, is sending aid. We're sending much needed medical supplies that are now on their way to India. But have we lost our moral compass, do you think, when it comes to stopping those flights for people in need?
Well, the moral compass is really stark, so stark that some African nations are calling it vaccine apartheid. So of the poorest countries in the world, they only have 1.3% of the vaccines. The richest countries have over 50%, and they're only 10% of the world's population. The global vaccination policy, COVAX it's called, that the Australian government gave 80 million, was meant to produce 2 billion doses for the poor developing world. It's only produced 43 million doses because it hasn't been properly funded. And even worse, so many of those doses were being made in India. And they were looking to India for those doses. And now with the apocalyptic, shocking outbreak in India, of course, that's not going to happen either. So that's the big picture of what's going on.
Indian Australians are saying the policy of stopping flights is discriminatory. They're asking, why didn't we stop flights from the UK or the US at the peak of their COVID outbreaks? Is that a fair question, or is it just common sense, human nature, and important to acknowledge that the government here in Australia needs to be acutely aware of the risk to people living here and the risks to our health system being placed under strain?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't help anyone if we bring people into hotels where we are seeing quarantine outbreaks and people get infected. That doesn't make sense. I don't understand, however, why we haven't opened Christmas Island. We've got Howard Springs, which is working in the Northern Territory, and other facilities for Australian citizens in India who can't come back. I hear the cries of the Australian Indian community. We didn't block Australians in America from coming back. Why are we doing this? Now, you can't bring them into hotel quarantine, but citizenship usually gives you one thing: the right to come home when there's war or disaster. We say to refugees and asylum seekers, you can't come, you're not a citizen. We're all very clear about that. But now we're applying this to Australian Indian citizens, and yep, we can't have them in our hotels, but we have other options, and I think we should be immediately exploring those, such as Christmas Island.
How are countries in our own backyard doing when you look at the Asia-Pacific region, where Australia has committed to step up and help as well? Papua New Guinea, we know, has had major outbreaks there, and their health system is severely struggling too. What is the latest you've got in terms of a snapshot of our region?
Yeah, look, Papua New Guinea did so well for so long, and this outbreak took them by surprise, and it's tragic. They're reporting 10,000 cases of infection. It's probably triple that. They have a terribly fragile health system. Now, 6 weeks ago, the Prime Minister committed 8,000 of our vaccines to frontline workers in Papua New Guinea, and I applauded that. Of course, he had to frame it in national interest, saying Papua New Guinea is just 4 kilometres across the water from Torres Strait Island, with boats coming back and forth. So it's an open back door for Australians to get infected. And that's right. I don't mind him putting it in those terms. He's booked $1 million of our paid-for AstraZeneca from Europe to go to Papua New Guinea, and it is desperately needed. Timor-Leste, also very close to us, has got soaring rates, well over 2,000 infections. So what we know is this does not end for any of us until it ends for all of us, because the variants, not just doubling but tripling in India, and we know some of those variants are now in 10 countries, including the UK, the USA, and quite possibly are here in Australia.
Tim Costello, just finally, I'm keen for your thoughts on a spate of stories we've seen in recent days about the Prime Minister's religious activities. We've all seen clips now of videos of him speaking to a congregation. That video was leaked. Should political leaders have their faith scrutinised, do you think, or should faith be off limits?
I believe that faith should be public, and I believe that when it's scrutinised and you are reminded of the best in your faith, that can be in leadership, producing the best for the nation. Look, in many ways, Scott Morrison's gone to this conference for years. It's his church and denomination. It's unremarkable. Saying he prays and lays hands, a biblical ancient tradition, is a bit unremarkable. Look, I just think secular Australia needs to say there's not a neutral place. Multiculturalism in Australia is powered by multi-faiths. You can't take the faith out of multiculturalism. One day we'll have a Muslim Prime Minister. I'll welcome that day, and I hope that Muslim Prime Minister's faith in the values and choices will be scrutinised. Now, sometimes Christians have distorted the Christian faith and done terrible things, and that should be scrutinised. Sometimes Christian leaders have acted truly, and I would say to Scott Morrison, I hope he might also lay hands and pray for asylum seekers and refugees, not just people who might vote for him, because that's what Jesus would certainly do. That's the best of Christian faith, and I think that should be public and discussed.
Reverend Tim Costello, always appreciate you making the time for us. Thank you.
Thank you.